Hi, this is Karishma Manga Bedi speaking to PEAKLIFE magazine.
At PEAKLIFE, we always admire the success of the women who have done something in their own respective fields. Today we are sitting with another achiever, entrepreneur who has done so much in the field of luxury before starting her own brand, Karishma. Karishma, welcome to PEAKLIFE.
Thank you so much.
So talking about Karishma, Karishma has been a thought leader in her whole journey, starting with brands like Louis Vuitton, from there to start her own brand, Idaaya, a rum which is defining the industry in their own sense. So welcome Karishma to the talk. You are truly inspiring.
Thank
so we
you.
would like to know more about the journey you have had so far. So starting with the fact that you have been very instrumental in bringing certain luxury brands in India, like Louis Vuitton, Jean Moulin, or Sephora. When did it occur to you that you have to bring a luxury rum brand, Idaaya, country?
I think with Idaaya has kind of been a very slow progression, I think, to where we kind of, brought the product to life. I don't think there's ever really a starting point for an entrepreneur's journey beyond putting one step in front of the other and hoping that it will really lead somewhere. And I feel that my previous experiences have all been a culmination eventually in terms of where we landed up with this. But if I had to pinpoint to one exact moment, I would probably say that it was during COVID when my husband Samrat and I were both sipping on some exceptional rum from overseas. And we really questioned why there was not a high quality product from India that could sit shoulder to shoulder with other international brands. And I think that was the germ of the idea really kind of came through in that moment to say we really wanted to create something that would be exceptional from India. So I told him we should look at doing this, and he said yeah, sure, go ahead. And I think what he thought where I was joking and I thought he was being serious, Idaaya was conceived in that moment. So
Wow. How difficult it was?
It's been a learning experience to say the least. I
Yeah.
think, it's a completely different industry from that which
True.
one has been in before. And I think that the liquor industry per se has really its own guardrails and its own nuances in terms of how it functions. So it's been an education, and I also think that it's certainly not a linear form of learning. It's not a straight line. It's a zigzag, and that's also putting it mildly.
I'm sure.
So it's been a huge learning progression.
No, like you just mentioned that of course you have come from a different background.
Yeah.
Liquor industry in India is a totally different ball game altogether. Rather, not just in India, everywhere in the world, the consumption patterns, the consumer behavior, and you having worked with luxury brands all across. Do you think the consumer psyche in India is still not evolved for a luxury brand in rum to come to India because, and that to an Indian brand? Because we all know the rum market in India is very massy, very consumption centric, and is driven by very few brands which are not in that space at all. So my question is, one, how do you feel that is there a demand for luxury rum to come to India? Second, do you think the pattern will trigger more brands to come to India and we can be the leaders in that space?
Sure. So there are a couple, so I'll address this in a couple of different ways. First, I think the Indian consumer by and large is very, very discerning. Luxury is not new to India. We've had luxury, be permeated down, whether it was from the time of the Rajas, the Maharajas, or even in terms of what we do in the smallest ways in our own homes, even in terms of eating fresh food on a daily basis. That's luxury too.
True.
So the notion of luxury to Indians is not new. I think Indians, from a consumer mindset, are very, very discerning consumers. We certainly evaluate what has been given to us, where we want to have, something that has got good provenance, something that's got culture, tradition to it. And we certainly want something that is well regarded and respected for the price at which it's coming in. So we could be a price sensitive market, but we're still a very discerning consumer.
Yep.
I think Idaaya is ahead of the curve as far as the Indian rum market is concerned, and happily so. Happy to be a first within the category to create the first of its kind sipping rum, which we have done. And already there are brands that are coming up within this space who are co-creating products in a similar space. And the market will eventually evolve to that, even if we are not there yet. The one thing that I think is critical for us to understand as far as the rum market is concerned is rum was actually the spirit of choice in India. And we used to consume, it was a rum-centric market, we used to consume this. It was during colonization that we basically were told, because the British basically got their scotch in the Molson, and we were basically told that whiskey was the drink to be had and not rum. And we bought into that culture and gave up on our rum drinking genes. And I think just from where we are today, I think it's time to turn that on its head. It's a
Absolutely.
beautiful brown spirit. It has got a lot of craft to it. It ages beautifully. There is a lot of play in terms of different cask treatments that you can do with it. And I think the end result should be that the liquid that tastes great should be able to
Absolutely.
build space on anyone's bar.
Absolutely. And I believe that, like you mentioned, the colonization and everything happened, that India changed after that.
Yeah.
And what I feel, there's huge scope for the rum market to grow in India, because of one factor which I believe, and you please enlighten me in this. Do you still feel people don't know how to, or what is or there are certain misconceptions about rum in India, that okay, it has to be taken in a certain weather, it has to be taken with a certain formulation? Do you think people still are very, very confused about how to have rum, or or how to not have rum? It shouldn't be like you should enjoy the drink.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest myths is that, especially in North India, is that rum is a winter drink.
Yeah.
And I cannot understand
Why?
why anyone would think that. I mean, the largest consumption of rum that is undertaken is in the Caribbean and Latin America, and it is hot pretty much all throughout out there. So why would those people be drinking it if it was a cold season drink and not something that you could drink all year round? So I think that's a big myth. That has been built up around nostalgia more than anything else. But rum is an all-season drink.
Of course.
And I think that there is a lot of play in terms of opportunities of how one would enjoy drinking it. I think for one piece, it is very relevant that, you can mix it and build it into a cocktail. You can sip it straight on ice. At least Idaaya, I love sipping straight on ice, and I think that's just how it's, it should be drunk. And you can have it, as you would have as a single malt, being completely undiluted even with ice, just straight up as it is. I also think that it plays into very many different occasions. So rum has the opportunity of being your pre-dinner drink, your appetite. It has the opportunity of, being had at dinner. It has a moment to create post-dinner as your late night drink.
As a dessert,
Absolutely.
used in lots of desserts.
Yeah, and you could use it in, in a dessert as well. It can be used in cooking too. The opportunities are so many that I think to narrow it down to think that it is the one drink that you should have in winter is just blasphemy.
I'm already craving for it. But yes, focusing on, so do you think there's still scope of marketing? Are you planning to do some educational marketing towards thing, or at least talking at certain forums where you talk about rum, and actually telling people that, like Johnny Depp said, why the rum is always gone. So why aren't we talking about it in the industry? And second, I think I also feel that you would know it better. India topography is ideal for rum.
Yeah.
And we have somehow lost the art of building it. So coming back to the brand, it's Himalayan sipping ring rum. How is it different from other brands?
So I think the notion, because we wanted to create something that was entirely world class, we went at working with an aged sample in rum. And the reason why I wanted an aged rum is because rum, when it ages, becomes less sweet and less jammy. And it actually develops a taste which is closer to a whiskey than it would actually be to a freshly aged rum, which could be very, very sweet and jammy. So the age part really helps the rum out there. Idaaya is made using 12 years aged rum. And alongside that, I think why we wanted to build provenance within the Himalayas was because of what I wanted the personality of this brand to be built as, and also in terms of So when we were discussing this project, I found that the oldest reference to rum is actually in our Ayurvedic scriptures. It's in the Arthashastras, and there was a lot of referencing to how a liquid which was created by an Ayurvedic physician called Vagbhata was made using molasses at that point in time, and a fermented sugarcane drink which was enjoyed with his friend in the evening for a life well lived.
Yep.
No medicinal benefit to any of that, but just a life well lived with a certain sense of balance to it. So I went back and studied, and we worked with an Ayurvedic college on this concept to see how were liquids created at that point in time, and what are the kind of synergies from an age-old technique or an age-old process that we could bring in the creation of our liquid today. So we actually have two Ayurvedic processes called dhupam and lepam, which is smoking and anointing using very different fruits and herbs that are done on the casks, and these are salvoed casks that are used indigenous to the Himalayan belt, and that we use on these salvoed casks. The liquid is then blended and introduced to these casks, and after that, using Solera system, which is again, the best standard as far as dark spirits is concerned, bottled thereafter. So it has a combination of this cask aging, which is ex-bourbon, as well as the dhupam lepam salvoed casks out here, 12-year aged rum, Solera bottling, gorgeous bottle, and Idaaya was born.
Wow. So talking about the bottle, bottle in itself is a unique bottle.
Yes.
The cask on the you have spoken about the cask. Talk about the bottle.
So the bottle was a story unto itself, because we set forth working with one of the best agencies globally in the liquor business, and spent about 9 months coming up with what a packaging in a bottle could look like, and I just didn't like it at all. It was not Indian enough for us, and I left that time on the side, and I said, you know what, no problem, just let it be. We're going to restart this entire process, and we worked with an agency out of India who could really understand the sensibility that we wanted. And we created a bottle mold for ourselves, which is original and iconic to Idaaya. It's a heavyweight bottle that looks like an old-fashioned decanter. Has the entire mountain etching across all 4 faces of the bottle, representative of the Himalayas. And then the crown, the cap is very interesting. So the crown is inspired by a compass. It's been made in copper. Copper was the metal of choice in Ayurveda. And interestingly enough, when you invert the cap over ice, it's an ice stamper that's been built into the bottle. And that was a bit of a reveal and a revelation even for us. So it just worked out beautifully.
Oh, it's beautiful, and it's the concept which I think, that marketing concept which came from the past learnings from different brands. Because I certainly believe what you learn from different brands globally, what they are doing, they implicate that in India, and it is a masterpiece. Now tell me one thing, like recently it is being reported worldwide that drinking habits are changing around across the globe. People are getting away from traditional drinks. Tequila is the new fad. Some people call it as a wellness drink as well. Do you think it will impact going forward, that these fads change and will change the drinking habits again, or it's the rum is here to stay?
I think the consumer sentiment has certainly seen a shift. I think the wellness industry has really grown manifold because of it in the last couple of years. And I don't think that is necessarily going anywhere. Health overall, youthfulness, longevity, vigor, vitality, all of these are very key topics, I think, from a future lens perspective. And there might be a small diaspora of people who pivot to not drinking altogether, but I think for the larger chunk of it, drinking culture is also largely built around socialization. And I think that's not going away, the inherent need for people to have connections and contacts and friendships and, have that moment of revelry amongst a sect. I think because of that, and that's what Those Good Distillerss, my company, stands for, is that drink less but better. So the idea is really not so much about having 7 drinks in an evening, but about, even if you're having just the 2, let those 2 be of a higher quality in terms of its creation, of its production methodologies. Let it contribute greater desirability in terms of creating that moment of pause, of allowing you to really enjoy and sip a great quality liquid so that you don't feel the need to binge drink, because typically with bad liquor, that's
Yeah.
what lands up happening.
Yes, of course.
So while there is a shift in the industry, I wouldn't say that we're not going to be, that people are suddenly going to abandon the drinking culture or the concept of drinking. But I do feel that it should pivot to the lens of having a higher quality, superior, premium drink, and therefore on account of that, less but better.
So how are you planning to distribute it? What are your plans? Which cities are you in right now, and how do you plan to expand that?
So with Idaaya, we really wanted to reach the global traveler first. And on account of that, we introduced the brand to market a little over a year and a half ago at duty free. Currently, we're available at duty free in New Delhi, in Bangalore, and in Mumbai, expanding to many other locations this year itself, which is in the pipeline. And we've just launched in the Indian market now in Haryana.
Oh, wow.
So that's the first market it's
Place
been
to
made
be in,
available.
yes.
Delhi is going to happen next.
Okay.
That's already happening as we speak, but Delhi will be next. And with Idaaya, the idea is really to grow it very slowly on account of really just seeing how the market kind of reacts to it, and also where it's truly appreciated. It's not one of those brands that I would want to push out and see sitting at the shelf.
Of course.
So the idea is really to make sure that the discerning consumer and where they're at, that's basically where Idaaya should be available. And I think keeping that in mind, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, and Goa will all become relevant markets for us in the future, for sure.
So in near future, would we see an Indian brand going out of India as well?
100%.
We'll long for that. It's something which India should do.
100%. We'd actually already signed up for this in the UK market, and those conversations are still very much live. We just took a step back from it because I think there was a big slowdown in the industry, which was also evident.
Yes.
So it's sometimes these things are just more a matter of timing. But Idaaya was built for that. I mean, you taste it alongside some of the most beautiful brands that you have in the rum category, including, El Dorado, Ronza Paca, Flor de Cana, any of these. It's sitting and tasting like any of these big boys.
Yeah.
It's a big girl sitting out there.
Yes.
So yeah.
No, so why I asked you this, that I believe, and we as Indian, we produce the luxury magazines, and what I personally feel, that Himalayan story is untold.
Yeah.
Across the world. You have worked with the French brands, the Swiss brands. You have seen the Alps story. People speak about the European luxury market, but we were the ones who started luxury, if we go back, like you mentioned, and the story is incomplete. So it will be great that if we see a brand like yours to go out and do something. So like you mentioned that you have started the conversations, we wish you all the best for that.
Thank you.
Coming back to the India market, like you have mentioned the duty free, and you're entering the states. How challenging it is as an industry to grow in this staggered market?
It is very hard. I have to say that this has been an absolute education for me in the last 1.5 years, and I'd be lying if I didn't say that it was.
Yes.
I think given that, the nomenclature changes by state, and it is not something that is centralized, does make business very hard.
The labeling changes.
Yes,
everything
absolutely.
changes.
The excise duty applicable between states varies. The labels, the nomenclature that's required on labels varies, and of course, even from a distribution lens, partners varies. So I think overall, something that could have potentially been streamlined. I feel that streamlining within this industry is it's very, very low on that scale right now. In comparison to that, if I look at the business, how duty-free operates, it's a high-margin business for sure, but it's an extremely streamlined business. It's a very, very organized, functional business. And then, of course, if you're working on trade and off trade, on trade within states as well is more organized in many cases than off trade is. So there's a lot of learning within different spaces, but I think something that I do respect and value a lot is the kind of support and synergy that you can find by finding the right partners. Sometimes that just goes a long way in really making business easy.
Agreed. And in India, I think the business happens on relationships, and
100%.
I think it will happen soon, because like you said, come from a different background,
Yeah.
and getting into an industry is always challenging.
Of course.
So what is next for the Good Distillers?
Well, with those good distillers, we're always in the process of discovery and of creation and creativity. So we already have a lineup of different spirits beyond the scope of rum that we will look at introducing to the market within the next 18-month horizon. I think the question is which one first. So there's a lot of deliberation currently over that to see which path we'd like to take. And that's a bit of a long haul process, but that evaluation is beautiful on its own. There's
Whiskey on the cards?
At some stage, yes. Yes.
Yes. So
Yeah. So which one is going to come forward first? We don't know about that, but there's a lot happening. It's a very exciting stage. It's looking to be. It's a promising future. It's a very exciting stage, and we're very upbeat about it.
So like I mentioned that the globally the liquor sales have gone down. The people have shifted from the traditional liquor. They have opted onto the lighter liquor. India is on contrary, growing onto the hard liquor. We are the largest whiskey consumption country, I think, in last few years, and largest rum and gin consumption patterns we have seen. So we wish you all the best on that. I hope next time we talk, we have more states added on, and we have a more success to you on that. Yeah. So one more thing I would like to ask: if Idaaya is a person, how would you describe that?
Ooh. I'd say someone who is quietly confident, who's self-assured, who's well-traveled, who's just curious about life by and large, and lives for discoveries, and is relentless in their pursuit of perfection.
Oh wow! So relentless is the word. And to our viewers, like I mentioned, we always feel happy and proud about the women around us, and we have this whole series of women we feature who have their inspiring journey, and we would like you to address certain women who will be watching it. What is the message for the women, young women, old women, whosoever wants to thrive something? What is the message from your side?
Well, I mean, if I had to really put it in simple words, I'd just say don't settle. Don't settle for less. Don't settle for no. Don't settle for not doing it out of fear. Just don't settle, just do it.
So perfectly said. Let's not settle. We will be going from here to sip Idaaya. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.